Hello investors, Mauricio Jara here. Now, a few months back, I made a video on a Portal Iceberg, which did very well, thank you everyone. However, in the iceberg, I did get some entries wrong. Thankfully, my audience in the comments were nice enough to show me what I got wrong and what they actually were. Thank you everyone for the answers. And so in this video, I'll be going much more in depth in the entries that I got wrong or didn't talk enough about. And I will also be including new entries made by me to spice it up. Anyways, if you're interested in the newer entries, make sure to skip to
5:48.
Alright, you got that? And this video will contain major spoilers for the Portal games, of course. I did get this entry somewhat right, but I didn't have any photographs of this. But now I do. And it was originally going to be an F-stop. Or, that's what the rumors say. Also, the reason why there is such a big fuss about it is due to the map names. In the old aperture section, it jumps from SP8301 to SP8303. So, there's a lot of rumors on why there is no SP8302. What I got wrong here was in which mod it appears in. In reality, it's not in Portal Still Live, but in the Flash version of Portal. My mistake. Although there is a picture of Cave Johnson with a companion cube slapped on his face, this entry was most likely referencing the fact that in one of the original drafts for Portal 2, the final boss was a GLaDOS-like robot with the consciousness of Cave Johnson. After this fight, you will use his corpse like a companion cube to escape. Yeah, good thing this wasn't used. Yes, there is an achievement called Vanilla Crazy Cake, but what it most likely meant is the actual meaning behind it. The name Vanilla Crazy Cake was recycled from a cut Portal 1 beta boss fight, where GLaDOS was originally a pile of roller mines from Half-Life 2. While fighting her with rocket turrets, she begins to malfunction, and while going to her last phase of the battle, GLaDOS will start to say, Vanilla Crazy Cake, over and over until she is destroyed.
Crazy cake, vanilla 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 crazy cake.
When Portal 2 was still F-stop, there was originally going to be a boss battle which involved a giant chicken, which most likely was a result of Aperture's experiments. Eventually, that was scrapped along with the concept of F-stop. This entry is most likely referring to some of the logic core's lines. The first few lines actually somewhat say some sort of recipe of cake.
1 18.25 ounce packaged chocolate cake mix.
But there will also be some strange lines put in there as well. The lines that stick out in this case are
Adjustable aluminum head positioner, slaughter electric needle injector.
This is a needle injector which is used on dead bodies to keep their mouths closed during a funeral. No, I didn't search that up. Somebody in the comments told me, don't worry.
And it contains proven preservatives, deep penetration agents, and gas and odor control chemicals.
After combining all those lines, it seems like a list for someone that is going to prepare a dead body for a funeral. Which makes you question, what is this doing in a cake recipe? Apparently, this image of a head crab is actually a hoax, and is photoshopped. Sorry for the misinformation. Now, I did cover some part of this entry, or it is known that there is another branch of Aperture located in Ohio. What I didn't cover, however, is that this location might have been the original destination for the Borealis. In Portal 1, the test chambers end on test chamber 19, which is sort of a strange number to end off with. Why not go past 20? Well, this has led fans to believe that there was a test chamber 20 that was scrapped during development. Based on what GLaDOS says to the player, everyone in Aperture Science is dead, and due to the sheer size of Aperture, it would have housed dozens if not hundreds of employees, combining both the scientists and test subjects. So it really is a mystery on how many people actually died within Aperture. This is a theory where it is possible that Rat-Man wasn't the only survivor. This theory also includes a possibility that all of the engravings and drawings you find throughout the Portal series weren't made just by Doug Rat-Man, but by other employees as well. One thing I forgot to mention is that the long fall boots that Chell wears originally came from a cut enemy from the Half-Life 2 beta, known as the Combine Assassin, which would essentially be the successor to the original assassin from Half-Life 1. One of the things I forgot to mention was the metaphors that the Oracle's turret speaks of.
Prometheus was punished by the gods for giving the gift of knowledge to man. He was cast into the bowels of the earth and pecked by birds.
Essentially, GLaDOS represents Prometheus as she fell into Aperture and was pecked at by a bird. and this opens a whole entire can of worms. So this would also make Chell represent Pandora, as she received knowledge in the form of the portal gun, which in a way was Pandora's box, which became the downfall of the one who gave it to her, Gladys. Also, in this case, Wheatley represents Epimetheus because Chell gave Wheatley control of the facility and nearly destroyed it, much like how Pandora gave Epimetheus power and made hell on Earth. Not only does it end there, but Atlas and Peabody would be Prometheus' brothers, who are named Atlas and Menetius. And finally, at the start of the fall, a pillar with the word Tartarus can be seen, in reference to the name of the underworld in Greek mythology. One being that heaven is a cornfield, which has made people theorize that Chell died after Portal 2, most likely from being sucked out of space at the end of the game. Also, corn never existed in Europe at the time and only in America, so yeah, I confused a wheat field with a cornfield. Well, I hope I got all of the previous entries right by this point. But if there's still anything I left out, feel free to comment it down. Anyways, I made myself a list of new entries. Essentially, I made a new iceberg to analyze and dig deep into. But beware, fellow viewers, because this is the part where he kills you. The idea for Portal originally began with a little game called Narbecular Drop, which was developed by Nuclear Monkey Software and was released in 2005. The game was about a princess that used portals to escape a dungeon. Sounds similar, doesn't it? Valve very much liked the idea and hired the team. And after 2 years of working on the new game for Valve, it was bundled with the Orange Box. And so, the Portal we all know and love was born. Here is a pneumatic vent. No, not that video. I said pneumatic vent, not pneumatic prank. Alright, here it is. And to be more specific, the pneumatic diversity vent. This was a cut gameplay element of Portal 2. Essentially, you could redirect these tubes with the use of portals to get rid of turrets and to carry cubes. Despite this not being in the final product as a gameplay element, it was still used as a storytelling element. Portal Reloaded is a free upcoming mod for Portal 2 that essentially adds a new gameplay element, a third portal hole. So, I guess Wheatley sort of predicted this. In the mod, the third portal allows you to travel to an alternate timeline, where Aperture is still in ruins. I honestly can't wait to play this mod, considering that it adds a new and interesting gameplay element. At the moment, there are only 3 official Portal VR games, the first being The Lab, released in 2016, the second being Portal Moondust, released in 2018, and the third being Aperture Hand Lab, released in 2019. Now let that sink in. 3 Portal VR games. If 3 equals 3, then that means Half-Life 3 is finally confirmed. I'm kidding. In all seriousness though, it looks as though Valve is experimenting with the VR medium with Portal. Valve is probably not going to make a full-fledged Portal VR game, but here's what they could do. Portal Ratman. First off, it could still have the portal gun and focus on story elements. Plus, you wouldn't need any of that nauseating flinging that is heavily shown in Portal 2. So, if you're a Valve employee watching this, make sure to make Portal Ratman. I would love to play as Doug Ratman, who is a very underrated character. And make sure to credit me, alright Valve? But before you consider doing that, make Half-Life 3 first, please. Hoopy the Hoop is the name given to the hoop that appears briefly at the end of Portal 1. For some reason, the devs thought that this would become the popular meme. But instead of this happening, the players popularized the cake as a lie statement, eventually becoming a meme. In Portal, the Aperture Science handheld portal device's acronym is ASHPD, which bears a striking resemblance to Adrian's name, Adrian Shepard. Throughout the Portal series, we never actually see any Zen wildlife from both Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 2. Now, it makes sense for there to be no Zen wildlife in the Enrichment Center, as GLaDOS could have easily exterminated them. So, they must be in the old Aperture areas, right? After all, it is sealed away. And from what we've seen, the only Zen creatures which are capable of living deep underground are antlions. So it begs the question, where are the antlions in old Aperture? Shouldn't there be antlion caves deep down there? The Perpetual Testing Initiative is a game mode and campaign for Portal 2, which was released on May 8th of 2012. It introduces the concepts of multiple alternate universes. Ever since its release, fans have been wondering whether or not this is actually canon. It probably isn't, but it probably is too. Some fans speculate that this takes place in an alternate reality where Kane Johnson never died of moonrock poisoning. Back in 2016, J.J. Abrams said that he would be making a Portal and Half-Life movie, And that
We're very active, and I'm hoping that there can be a Portal announcement fairly soon.
Huh. Well, it's been well over 4 years now. Now, don't get me wrong, J.J. Abrams is a great filmmaker, but considering what he did with 2 of the movies in the sequel trilogy of Star Wars, I'm not too sure if he's entirely the man for the job. If a Portal movie came out, it would be awesome if it was set in old Aperture in the 70s, or in the time when GLaDOS was first booted up. Portal Prelude is an old mod for Portal 1, which takes place during the time that GLaDOS was being constructed, but not activated. So you get to hear real humans test you in the mod. Although they don't exactly sound that real considering that they were voiced by a text-to-speech program.
What? Seriously? What are you saying, Mike? Stop this crap, please. Hey, this is the procedure. We must read this text each time a specimen starts the test. Oh, for God's sake, stop calling her a specimen. She has a name, Mike. Okay.
But hey, the mod was going for an interesting concept. The hover turret is an unused Portal 2 enemy. However, the turret's programming is still in place within the game's files. Spawning it with a code or placing it with a level editor will result in a blue error placeholder model appearing instead. In the pre-release screenshots, it was shown to share the model of multiple different cores from the first game, including the Curiosity Core's model when firing at the player, the Anger Core's model when on the ground, and the Morality Core's model when facing away from the player. Instead of hovering, the turret was suspended by a cable from the ceiling. The eyes of the turret firing at the player were a slightly different shade and glowed more than the Curiosity Core's eyes. Originally, there was going to be a third gel known as the Adhesion Gel. When placed on a wall or ceiling, the player was able to walk on those walls and ceilings. Sadly, the gel was cut because many playtesters experienced motion sickness and disorientation. In Test Chamber 17 at Portal 2, you can actually hear Doug Redman speaking. Many people have tried transcribing what he says. Now, it all may be complete gibberish, but it can also transcribe some creepy messages. Just take a listen.
It's coming, Stu! It's going to it's starting again! The ship is starting, let's get down now! I'm laying in the metal, and it's calling people, and all these things, it's going to talk. This is going.
We all know that placing a portal on black surfaces in Portal is impossible. However, if you look at the co-op trailer, Peabody places a portal on a black surface. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I call true horror, and I would advise you to look away. With the cancellation of F-Stop, it left many questions. In the concept art, we can see a lot of mannequins. What the purpose was is still left unknown. They could have been an enemy to the player, or just map props. During the Perpetual Testing Initiative, we can hear Cave Johnson talk about Greg.
Cave here. Man, oh man. Wow. Greg's multiple universe theory was dicey, but you're pulling through with flying colors. We're all very proud of Greg.
Originally, he was written to appear during Portal 2's single-player campaign. However, he was replaced by Caroline prior to release and was considered to be cut from the game, before being added back as Caroline's replacement in the Perpetual Testing Initiative DLC. The reason why he was cut was to cut the cost of hiring more voice actors. When Portal was in its Nova Prospect design, and while it was transitioning to its sleek modern design, the protagonist was originally going to be a male. This can still be seen in the Portal trailer released in 2006 multiple times. Now, we all know that the Borealis is a major plot element to the Half-Life series, and that the Borealis belongs to Aperture Science. Now if you pay attention, we can see that the Borealis has a 90s or present version of the Aperture logo, which doesn't make sense when you consider that the ship was constructed in old Aperture. We know this because we can literally find the dock for it. Now, this may be a retcon or a detail that Valve missed, but if this isn't the case, then what the heck is going on here? This is a missed detail in Portal 1, but when GLaDOS is about to burn Chell alive, you can see some pipes which appear to be broken. But why? From what we know, Chell wasn't the only test subject, so they all probably believed in the promise of cake, only to be met with an incinerator, so some of them must have tried portaling up there to escape, right? Well, they must have tried. Could this be why the pipes are broken? Was this the result of dozens and dozens of test subjects flinging themselves against events only to fall to their fiery doom? Only for Chell to be the luckiest one to get out? This is something that not many people seem to mention, but why does Aperture look so different? Even the areas which are meant to display areas we went through Portal 1 look very different. Just look at the doors, the elevators, the cubes. GLaDOS? The cores? Even the behind the scenes of Aperture look completely different in aesthetic. So what is going on here? A lot of fans say that Valve is just retconning things from the past. But that's wrong too. Probably. From what we can see in the Ratman comics and Ratman drawings, we can see Portal 1 GLaDOS, the Portal 1 Companion Cube, Portal 1 cores, and more, which tells us that how everything looked in Portal 1 is canon and not retconned. And this comic was made after Portal 2. We can even see the Portal 1 Companion Cube at the end of Portal 2. So what gives? I wish I could answer this, but this is still a mystery waiting to be solved. This is a theory where the cakes in Portal are made out of burned bodies, which may also explain why GLaDOS incinerates her test subjects after testing. But that also begs the question of what GLaDOS did to the scientists' bodies. During the end of Portal, we get to visit the behind the scenes, but we never find any bodies. So GLaDOS most likely disposed of the bodies, so she may have incinerated them too, which means that in this theory, the scientists also make up the cake. Fans have been speculating that the end of Portal 2 is really just a simulation, and that Chell really isn't on the surface, but in just another test chamber. Considering that Aperture is capable of doing psychological tests, this wouldn't be too far-fetched. But who knows? Maybe you're in a simulation right now. Perhaps this is all a dream. Perhaps it's been 5 months since the car accident. It's time for you to wake up. You're living in a lie.
Hello, and again, welcome to the Aperture Science Computer Aided Enrichment Center. To reiterate, previous The Enrichment Center is required to remind you that you will be baked, and then there will be cake.
And that is the Portal Iceberg 2. Now, what the future holds for the Portal franchise is pretty unknown, but I believe that it's safe to assume that Chell's story is over. But there could still be even more stories left to tell from other perspectives. But before any of this can occur, we're going to need to see Half-Life 3 first. Apart from that, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and make sure to subscribe if you'd like to see more of these kinds of videos. Doing so will grant you a free cake at the end of the test. Anyways, I am Mauricio Jara, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!